Yeah, we're live now.
Um, okay, so it's 4 o'clock and let's get started. A very good evening to everyone. I'm Rujuta Kelkar and I'm your host for today. And I'm so delighted to welcome you to this live Let's Talk About Anxiety. I'm joined today by my co host Chetlur Krishna, who's an integral member of TherapYOU's team. Our guest for today is Miss Priyanka Kadam. We are so grateful she has agreed to give us some of her valuable time and join us today evening. Thank you, ma'am. Priyanka Kadam is a clinical psychologist or a psychotherapist who recently won an award at the Invest Global Conference for her paper on emotional intelligence. She is trained in the foundations of hypnotherapy from the American Hypnosis Association, managing ADHD from King's College London, and various other psychotherapies. She works as a psychological counselor, a freelance mental health expert, and also teaches psychology. Her work scope includes children, youth, and young adults. Welcome to TherapYOU, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Rujuta. I
Includes
have been
children,
here
youth,
before
and
and
young
I have
adults.
enjoyed it
Welcome.
every time. And I think I've said this to you before also that you're doing a great job, but it's never enough to say that because mental health awareness is there is so much need for it. So good job and keep going.
All right, thank you so much. With that, let's begin today's session with our first question. What is anxiety? How do we know when it becomes chronic or problematic enough to seek professional help?
Right. So if I were to ask you whether you've ever had thoughts like, I'm never going to make it to that exam or meeting or project, so why do I even bother showing up? Or I was so uncomfortable at that party and so restless that I had to leave. Or everyone in this presentation or this meeting is going to watch me speak. And what if I fumble and make a fool out of myself? There is a good chance that your answer will be yes. Yes, I've had these and such other thoughts. But the fact is that all of us have these. Anxiety is a common emotion that each one of us experiences from time to time. It is a response to life events like taking an exam or speaking in public or traveling alone or talking to your boss or things like that. American Psychological Association defines anxiety as an emotion that is characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. All of us experience it. It is a natural human state, and it is even necessary or essential for our survival. So it helps us identify and respond to potential threats, and it can motivate us to deal with those threats or cope with those challenges. The right amount of anxiety can help us perform better by stimulating action or creativity. Think of a tournament or an exam or a presentation. Because you're anxious, you're going to ensure that you're going to put in work and prepare really well. But, and this is going to answer the second half of the question, when I said right amount, there is another side to it. So, persistent anxiety can cause real emotional distress and it can become or it can lead us to really feeling or becoming unwell. At its worst, it can develop into anxiety disorders such as panic attacks or phobias or obsessive behaviors. And then at this level it can become very, very distressing. It can have a really debilitating impact on our lives. It can adversely affect our physical health, our mental health. Anxiety disorders are usually characteristic of persistent and intrusive symptoms like panic, phobias, or obsessive behaviors, and it usually leads to impairment in the functioning of our day to day lives. But does that mean that anybody who has anxiety has an anxiety disorder? Then the answer would be no. So, Diagnostic Statistical Manual is a manual that mental health professionals use, which has a list of all the disorders with the symptoms and criteria which are required, for diagnosis. So, currently in its fifth edition, DSM-5 lists a number of criteria that one has to qualify before it can be called a disorder. Again, American Psychological Association states that people with anxiety disorders have recurring thoughts, intrusive thoughts and concerns, and they may avoid certain situations which can make them feel worried. They will have physical symptoms like trembling, sweating, dizziness, or rapid heartbeat. Uh, in a sense, we may all experience these things from time to time, and some amount of it is common, even normal, even vital. But when it starts affecting your life decisions and behaviors in a way that you're not able to function in your day to day life to your full potential, that is when it is advisable that you seek help. And unless and until somebody meets the whole criteria that is mentioned in the DSM-5, we cannot say that the person has anxiety disorder. So all of us experience anxiety, but not each person who's experiencing it has an anxiety disorder. What I would also like to point out is that although it is the most prevalent mental health problem, it is often unreported, underdiagnosed, and even undertreated. But it is a highly treatable condition. So seeking help as early as possible can go a long way.
Okay, that's important. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah, so the next question would be, how does anxiety manifest and how does it affect our lives?
Right. So, for the longest time, people believed, and probably a lot of misconceptions about it still exist, which is that anxiety is related only to the mind, meaning that anxiety is originating and being contained solely in the mind of the brain. But we are a whole person, and there is an interconnected relationship between our mind, our brain, and our bodies. So, anxiety also manifests in our emotions, thoughts, and also in our bodies in the form of physical symptoms. So, feelings of nervousness, or worry, or stress, or fear of being judged, or feeling like I'm spinning out of control, or irritation is what anxiety would feel like emotionally. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, everyone is going to judge me, I'm going to make a fool out of myself, everyone else is doing better than me. All of these are examples of what anxiety can lead us to think. And also, people who suffer from chronic anxiety have experienced racing thoughts, and they find it difficult to sustain attention for a long period of time. Physically, anxiety may be experienced in a way of increased blood pressure, palpitation, increased heart rate, gastrointestinal problems, sleeping problems, sweating, trembling, the tightness that we feel in the stomach when something like a deadline is approaching, or when you have to, go meet your boss or something like that. So, as far as how it affects our lives is concerned, survey suggests that we are living in an age of anxiety. You would agree. Anxiety reflects in all defining aspects of our life, whether it is our work, whether it is about our attitude towards other people, our relationship, how we raise children, our jobs, terrorism, and so on. The most common sign of mental distress right now in every country across the globe is anxiety. It is often presented as an artifact of modern societies. In fact, there is a very interesting quote by Norman Mailer that says, the natural role of 20th century man is anxiety. So you can imagine how common it is. In fact, an estimated 264 million people have experienced an anxiety disorder, so a diagnosis of an anxiety disorder in 2017 across the globe, which makes it the most prevalent mental health or neurodevelopmental disorder. If you think about it, words like stress, anxiety, feeling anxious, feeling triggered have become a part of our everyday vocabulary, right? Especially now in the age of apps, when, on the background of this whole year due to the pandemic, our lives have become so limited to the virtual world. We are all experiencing difficulty in focusing, in attention, mental fatigue. Most of us are living on autopilot. Anxiety often leaves us feeling tired, having difficulty, in focusing on something, having hazy thoughts, forgetfulness, brain fog. There are so many ways in which anxiety manifests in our lives.
Okay, yeah. I think that was a very that was informative. I think we're all clear about what it really means now.
Yes.
But now that we know that, we have a third question that says, what is the basis of anxiety and can it be coped with? And if yes, how can we cope with it, or what can be done to cope with it?
Right. So, although anxiety has survival value, like I mentioned earlier, uh, basically we are designed to maintain a natural balance in our mind and bodies. Aside from the time when we are facing a threat, and in which time anxiety can help us detect it and avoid it or cope with it. But for thousands of years, as humans, our biggest challenge was survival. And we had to protect ourselves from wild animals, from storms, from heights, and so on and so forth. So our body developed a system to keep us safe. This system is called fight or flight response. And imagine when you're facing a ferocious lion, or when you are in the way of a fast approaching car, or maybe it's just an impending deadline. Um, our bodies trigger a physical stress response that will prepare us to either fight or flee the scene. This is governed by our sympathetic nervous system. We want to get into a little bit of biology now. So, the sympathetic nervous system is a part of our autonomic nervous system, also known as the involuntary nervous system. So, this sympathetic nervous system will direct body's rapid involuntary response to anything that is dangerous or stressful to us. So, a flood of hormones boosts the body's alertness and heart rate, sending extra blood to the muscles, leaving very little at the extremities, and that's why the phrase cold feet. Your breathing quickens, delivering more oxygen to the brain. An infusion of glucose is shot into the bloodstream for quick energy. In short, what happens is that when you are standing near a tree which is about to fall, or in front of a car which is coming at really fast speed, you're going to jump out of the way of that before you even fully register it, right? And in such an anxiety provoking or stressful situation, our digestion is turned off, our immune system is turned off, because our survival becomes the priority. Now, sympathetic nervous system doesn't de-stress the body once the danger situation has passed. There is another part of the autonomic nervous system which is called the parasympathetic nervous system. This is what keeps our body calm. So, to counter the fight or flight response, this system encourages the body to rest and digest. So, the blood pressure will drop, I mean, it will come back to normal, and breathing rate will come back to normal, and your hormone flow will return to normal, and your body will settle in a balanced state as it's intended to. The sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system work together to maintain the baseline, or the balanced state of the body. Now, the fight or flight response is useful when we are facing real dangers. Like earlier, when survival was a threat. But when we are in situations which are perceived threats, like the boss wanting to talk to you in his office, or public speaking, or traffic jam, this fight or flight response, although it is activated, doesn't do much or doesn't serve much purpose, because you can't fight your boss, or you can't even flee from your workplace, right? So, what happens is that in the day and age that we are living in, we are constantly activating a fight or flight response without getting into the rest and digest phase. So, this is what leads us to feel exhausted, anxious. We have chronic stress, we feel edgy, gastrointestinal problems, elevated levels of heart rate, headache, hypervigilance, low immunity, so many other complications. So, what we need to do to tackle this in terms of how to cope with it is that we need to proactively make attempts to activate this parasympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest um, system.
Right.
And there are many ways to do it. So, having a balanced diet goes a long way. Maintaining a healthy sleep routine, sleep hygiene, meditation, breathing, spending time in nature, physical exercises, all make valuable contribution to maintain this rest and digest and the balance of our body. Grounding techniques, particularly, can help us turn off this fight or flight response. So that is what helps in maintaining or coping with that moment when you're feeling really, really anxious.
All right.
Yes, ma'am, that was very informative and a complete new dimension to anxiety. So you mentioned the grounding technique. So what is the grounding technique and how does it work?
Okay, so what is being grounded? Being grounded basically means being aware of our present moment, what you're experiencing right now, what your body feels like, what emotions you're experiencing at the moment. Um, it also means that you are aware that you are in control of feeling safe and you have a sense of well being and safety. So, grounding is an important and effective therapeutic tool that can be used to cope with anxiety, panic, emotions, distress regulation. And it also helps overall as an exercise, if you're doing it regularly, to tune into your uh, emotional needs, which in turn will improve our mental health. So, grounding strengthens our parasympathetic response. So, the rest and digest that I spoke about, it will strengthen that. So, this is our body's natural way of being calm. Now, many anxiety, panic disorders, or post traumatic stress disorders, in their essence, are disorders because you're feeling like you're facing the danger right now, where in reality you are safe in the present moment, but you're coping with anxious thoughts of the future or what could go wrong, or traumatic memories of the past. But your body's response to the perceived threat, and the word perceived is very important here. The body's response to the perceived threat or danger is not in proportion to what actually is happening, because you're in a safe space right now in this moment. Because you feel like you are in danger, the fight or flight response gets activated. But in reality,
Hey guys,
I
I'm
think
really
Monit is.
sorry the internet died for a minute.
That's
Uh,
okay. Yeah, tell us when we're live again. So,
mm, we are live now. Yeah, you can go ahead.
okay. I'm really sorry about that interruption. I think we faced some technical issues. But Priyanka, ma'am, can you just sort of go back maybe 2, 3 sentences and just sort of quickly summarize your previous answer?
So I was talking about how grounding techniques can help us strengthen our parasympathetic nervous system, and basically it helps us to calm down. And when we are calm, we can we can cope with whatever it is that is making us anxious in a more effective manner, because our present or our current moment experience is usually safe. So to make ourselves aware of that, um, through grounding techniques or through breathing techniques helps us to calm down and then address those thoughts or those difficult emotions or traumatic memories in a more aware, mindful, and effective manner. And there are many grounding techniques. And if you want, we can do one now. That way, people who are watching this video can also learn the technique.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, I'm
Yes,
sure everyone's
yes,
gonna.
ma'am.
So yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to go with my personal favorite.
Okay.
It's easy and effective, and it's called square breathing or box breathing. So this is something you can use anywhere, literally anywhere. And while you're using it, you can do it in such a way that nobody even needs to know that you're doing it, right? So the minute you
Okay.
start feeling anxious or you start feeling that panic setting in, what you need to do is look for a square object or a square shape near you. It could be a door, it could be a window, it could be a TV, laptop, cell phone, painting, building, anything. Okay,
Okay.
it just has to be a square or a rectangular shape. For demonstration purpose, I'm going to use this. Okay. Next, what you're going to do is you trace the outline of the shape while you count your breathing. So I usually do a 4 4 4 4 because it's easier to count. So you maybe now we could you all can join. Can you all see the whole thing?
If you could just
Yes,
move the book a little,
ma'am.
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Perfect, ma'am.
Okay. So what you need to do is you start at the corner
Okay.
this corner, and you breathe into the count of 4. Okay, so you basically inhale to the count of 4. So you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hold your breath for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so would both of you like to now try it?
Yeah, we'll follow along. Maybe you can count for us and then
Yes,
we.
ma'am.
Yes, yes. I'll count
Yes,
for you
ma'am.
all.
We'll follow.
You all just follow uh, as I count. Okay, so you start from the bottom corner.
Yes.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you inhale to the count of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. And then again you hold 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do it one more time. One, ready?
Yes, ma'am.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. And hold, 2, 3, 4. How do you feel?
It
Yes, ma'am.
actually feels like
Relax.
more in control
Mm,
now. Like I'm listening
a
and I'm.
bit calm. Yes. A bit calm. Yes, ma'am. Feel
Okay, so
relaxed.
this is going to work better when you're not on a
On.
live video. Obviously, it's difficult now, right now, to inhale, exhale, and focus on the breathing. So obviously, it's not going to have that kind of effect that it has the potential to have. So I would suggest both of you should do it when you're off the camera and you're not live, and it will definitely help. So what happens is that all the time when you're tracing the outline of the frame, you're regulating your breath, and it can be repeated as many times as you need to feel calm. It really calms you down with all that extra oxygen, and you can literally feel your nerves calming down. And then when that happens, you become aware of where you are, your present experience, which is most likely safe. Obviously, when it is not safe, you walk out of there. But most likely it is safe, and you become aware of your surrounding, and then the panic thought or the worry of what is going to happen or a painful memory that you're struggling with, uh, you have less anxiety and you're more calm, which gives you that the tools to cope with it more effectively.
All right. All right. Um,
Okay.
Ma'am, now there's a bunch of questions that people have asked us. If you're okay with taking a few impromptu questions, I'll just ask you two. Is that okay?
Sure, sure. I'll try
Okay.
my best.
Yeah, perfect. So I have one question. Someone's asked me that how do I know I'm feeling anxious? Like, how do I realize that I'm feeling anxious?
Right.
And when
So,
I know that sort of too much for me to take, like when do I need to see someone for it?
right. So, first symptom is that your heart rate will increase. When you're usually fear, people misunderstand or get confused between fear and anxiety. Now anxiety can manifest again differently for different people, but physical symptoms is your heart rate will go high, you will start feeling your temperature going up, you feel breathless, sometimes you tremble, sometimes you start sweating, you get cold feet, or it could also be really really worrisome thoughts about what when you start obsessing about, okay, what's going to happen, what if I fail, what if this, what if that. A little bit all of us do, but if it is getting into the way of you not let being able to let go of it and get to the work that you need to do, then you know that this is anxiety, and then you need to start either, like I mentioned, you can do your diet, blah blah blah, all of those things. You can, in that moment, you can do breathing exercise to calm down. But if this is something which is happening persistently all the time, if it's a pattern where you really get out of control and you're not able to calm down, then that is a good time to see or seek professional help. Seeking professional help, you don't need to have a diagnosis for that. Seeking professional help does not mean that there is a disorder because of which you're seeking help. People like you and me who, at whatever reason, for whatever time, are feeling incapable of dealing or coping with whatever it is that we are struggling with, you can always seek professional help.
Okay, right. I think that explains it. And just another last quick question.
Sure.
There's a section of people who feel that anxiety helps them achieve their objective of staying stressed and complete the task at hand. So, is this a healthy mindset, firstly? And secondly, does the capacity to face anxiety vary among people?
Yes, capacity to face anxiety, to experience anxiety, how it affects and how it manifests in your life. These are generic symptoms that all of us experience. But of course, our coping mechanisms are different for different people. Um, some people may be able to cope with it effectively. Some people are able to mask it effectively. Some people are not able to do it. So there are different reasons for different capacities. As far as healthy mindset of being in pressure is concerned, some amount of anxiety is useful, like I said earlier, because it pushes you to, to work hard and to study or to prepare. But if you're constantly wanting to work under pressure, so you procrastinate for a long time, and then you wake up and then you feel like, oh, I work better under pressure, then I'm one, like, my question would be, why is it that you feel the need to procrastinate and get anxious and then work? Like, why is that? Or even there's something called as high functioning anxiety. So people who feel that when they're anxious, they're more productive, and
Okay.
like, I need to be under pressure, I need to always be worried, because then that helps me achieve so much. But then my question is that you achieve so much, so what exactly are you achieving? So is it work targets that you're achieving, but at the cost of what? You know, if it is about achievements in the sense like work targets or doing well at work, but if you're all the time needing to be anxious to do that, then what exactly are you accomplishing from that? That is something that one needs to think about, I would say.
Yeah. All right. That's really informative. I think we all understood that clearly. And if you have time, just one last question that someone sent on our comment section: how to help kids deal with anxiety? So this is probably from
How
like a parent perspective. How to help kids deal with anxiety? Yeah, children.
See, what happens is, with children, most importantly, I think to be able to help children understand that it is okay to have difficult emotions to begin with. So we have these really unrealistic expectations as adults that they have to behave. They cannot throw a tantrum. They are being naughty. They are being difficult. But usually they are all indicators of some need not being met, right? So it is okay for them to have bad mood. It is okay for them to have difficult emotions. What we as adults, I think, need to do is explain or allow them to feel whatever it is that they are feeling, and then help them identify, label the emotion. Most times, children throw tantrums because they don't know what it is that they are feeling. So, helping them identify, label the emotion, get to the cause of what happened, even this diffuses a lot of tension. And then, of course, depending on the situation, one can decide how to help the child. And what is causing the anxiety would be the cause of the anxiety, would be able to determine how we could help. But I think a safe dialogue of being available, letting them know that you're there to guide them through difficult emotions, I think diffuses a lot of tension, which
Yeah.
doesn't happen. Like, there is no quick fix that, okay, you do this, like, move this wand around them and then they'll be fine. It doesn't work like that, right? What is causing the anxiety will determine how you will address it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think having a safe space to talk will help a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. All right, ma'am. Thank you so much. And we've now come to the end of today's session. A huge thank you to everyone who attended today. And we sincerely hope, all three of us, that you took back more than you knew when you started off today, right? So I hope that this was useful in some way. And if you still have more questions, or you would like to speak to a therapist, or get some professional advice on anything that you might be feeling, there's a form in the description link below. So please fill it, and we will get back to you ASAP. And now we'll see you soon with another live coming your way. And until then, have a great night, and bye bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.
Bye bye.